Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Press for Truth TV. Thanks for tuning in once again on this broadcast for Friday, February the 10th, 2012. And today we're joined on the line by Mike Roy and Brent Cornwall, who are some activists based out of London, Ontario. And Mike, of course, has been covering a lot of issues over the years. He's involved with a number of groups like the grassroots organization We Are Change, and has been covering a lot of these movements that are pertain to Canadians. So, Mike and Brent, thanks for joining me today here on Press for Truth TV.
Well, thanks for having us on.
Yep, thanks. Thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciate you guys taking the time to speak to me today. Why don't you, just for some of the viewers, just tell us a little bit about who you guys are and how you got involved in the truth movement in the first place.
All right, I'll go first. I got involved in We Are Change probably 2008 or 2009, probably 2008. I was really interested in 9/11. Um, Watched a lot of We Are Change videos, a lot of Luke's videos and stuff, and got really inspired by it. Decided to do a lot of research. Spent a few years doing research. That sort of led me to other things when you go down the rabbit hole. Started going out to activist events in London and making connections and bridging stuff that way. Um, so yeah, I'm involved with Food Not Bombs in London, Really Really Free Market, a number of other groups. And then when Occupy came around, sort of jumped on it and went to Toronto for the initial 8 or 9 days and helped out there with the media team, and got back to London, and camp had already been set up, and met up with all my fellow activists, and then a whole crew of new people sort of came in, which was quite a wonderful experience. And now the camps are all dismantled. We're still working together really, really, really well, doing things all the time. Yesterday we did a sit-in at 2 local MP offices, so that's pretty the short of it.
Myself, I was involved in the anti-racist action throughout the 90s in London. Ran the chapter here for a few years and kind of got out of the things for a little while. When the Occupy movement was starting up within Toronto again, or I guess within New York City, I got really excited at that. And when it came to Toronto, I went there for the first day. Came back to London the Sunday after, so the day after Toronto. Was back here and started organizing for the London occupation. So when Mike came back down from Toronto, we had the camp set up and was ready to go.
Neglected to mention the G20.
Yes.
I think that was probably the thing that I wouldn't say inspired, probably kicked me in the ass more than anything else.
Yeah.
And a lot of us got to see firsthand what the true face of our government is really like.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that if anything good came out of that G20 summit was just that a lot of Canadians woke up to the true state of the corruption going on here within our own Canadian government. So, and in respect to that, I was curious to get your guys' opinion about some of the things that have been happening lately in London, Ontario. I know with the major U.S. company Caterpillar coming in a while back, and I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, they bought up the EMD, Electric Motor Diesel Company, and were threatening to strike the wages by 50%. And knowing this would infuriate the workers, which it did, they just announced a complete shutdown of the plant. And this is just, I believe it was 18 months after having bought the plant, which is a 90-year-old business there in London, Ontario. So just break it down for us a little bit about what's been happening there in London in regards to this takeover in the last month or so.
I mean, I can definitely take that one. I guess the contracts talk started in the summer, back in June, and Caterpillar initially came in with a 70% wage reduction, so pretty much straight down to minimum wage from the $30 an hour that these trade skills guys were getting. And they negotiated not really much, pretty much all the way up till December, and then Caterpillar, very nicely of them, bumped it up to a 50% wage reduction. How generous of them. And on January 1st, the workers decided not to strike and they were going to maintain the contract they were currently on, and Caterpillar locked them out. Um, at that point, the picket line started to occupy London, went out to the line, we set up some tents, set up the internet, did a couple other things for the workers in solidarity with them. And yeah, there wasn't really any negotiations from that point on. The company decided that the offer that they gave them on New Year's Eve was going to be their final offer, and a lot of us were very surprised when they actually did close the doors because, like you said, they've only owned the company for 18 months, so it was very disappointing, especially considering that company is very profitable, the factory is very profitable, and it just goes back to them not wanting to work within unions or, I guess, give workers a fair wage, especially one that have been going for a long time.
Interesting side note too. They basically just bought the intellectual property. General Motors still owns the factory, so they just bought the intellectual property and skipped town.
Hmm.
So
So it almost seems like this was their plan right from the get go. Having moving in and shutting it down. See, it almost seems like that's what they wanted to do all along.
Yeah, they've been doing it for a long time, even throughout the 80s in the United States. The United Auto Workers, they had a big history of buying a factory in some state that has right to work legislation and hardball negotiating with the workers. And if they didn't agree to the hardball negotiations that Caterpillar wanted, they just moved the factory to a state that has right to work legislation. And I think it's kind of the same thing here that's happened to London.
Yeah, it seems to be that way for sure. So what kind of things can Londoners still continue to do at this point? I mean, would you guys think that maybe an effective boycotting campaign could that affect this thing if let's say you organized a boycott against all companies who are involved with Caterpillar in any way? Do you think that could be an effective way to bring more attention to this issue?
Yeah, I think it could. I don't think it's going to help the people too much in London right now because, like I've said, they've pretty much decided that they're getting out of here. Um, but yeah, a boycott on their products would be a big thing. Their stock prices have gone through the roof the last few years, and it's basically because they've been doing these things to workers all over the world, not just in Canada and the United States, but they have organizations, Mexico, Brazil, Asia, Europe. It's everywhere. They're a massive company, almost 100,000 workers. They made $6 billion in profits this past year, so they're not hurting by any means in terms of financial difficulty. So, if any way that we could hurt them financially, it would probably be the best way because that's the way they seem to, I guess.
the pocketbook, right?
Yeah.
Like they do have, I think, 8 locomotives sitting in there.
8 completed ones and another 6 or 7 ones that are partially completed sitting in the different stations.
So they're not letting them leave. The
Right.
workers are making sure all the tracks are blocked. They're not letting those trains leave at all, or any equipment or anything like that. I mean, personally, I'd like the word reappropriation, but I think they're maintaining that posture right now to see if they can get a better package out of them.
Yeah, for sure. So where can people go if they want to keep up to date about this issue in London? Are there any websites that you can suggest, or any other groups or websites that people should be following if they want to keep up on this?
Um, my YouTube channel, I can give you the link to that. It's Cable Guy user, Cable Guy CABL3 uh, GUY 2012, or just look up Mike Roy space London on Google. You'll find the videos there. Once in a while, other groups like Media Wrench and stuff like that will toss something up, but really, there's not a lot of alternative media that's covering this stuff. Most of it's mainstream. Most of it's on the side of the workers of the factory. Down here, there's a lot of support for those workers. London's got one of the highest unemployment rates, I think, in Ontario, in Canada. Um, so this is a big issue here in town.
Yeah,
So we're doing everything we can to hit all the different MPs, and onto the boycott thing. We're starting to petition different groups to cover up the emblems and any purchase of new equipment, possibly to try to maybe look at Chase or another company that makes, tractors, for example. So, yeah, it's an unfortunate thing. And like you said earlier, it was almost as if they knew they were going to do this when they bought the factory.
Yeah, well, we're so appreciative of your coverage of it to this point because, like you said, the mainstream media is not really doing their job, so it's up to us to do the job for them and cover these very important issues. So, thank you guys for doing that, and keep up all the awesome work you've been doing out there. Once again, thanks so much for joining us here at Press for Truth TV. We'll talk to you later, guys.
Right on. Keep up the good work, Dan.
Thanks for having us, Dan.
Thanks. Okay, everyone, that was Mike and Brent from London. Been doing a lot of great coverage, so be sure to check out Mike's YouTube channel. I'll put a link to that in the description so you can keep up to date with everything that's going on out there with those guys. And that's it for today, guys. Thanks for tuning in once again. I hope you all have a great weekend, and I'll see you right back here on Monday at Press for Truth TV. Take care.